please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with an artist called Lizzo, who on her Instagram 5 days ago had posted, "I'm tired of putting up with being dragged by everyone in my life and on the internet. All I want is to make music and make people happy and help the world be a little better than how I found it. But I'm starting to feel like the world doesn't want me in it. I'm constantly up against lies being told about me for clout and views, being the butt of the joke every single time because of how I look, my character being picked apart by people who don't know me and disrespecting my name. I didn't sign up for this. I quit. Peace out. Emoji." As you can see from the comments, people aren't on her side. She gets a lot of likes though. Now why did this post happen? It's because Lizzo, over the years, has courted controversy. Wasn't there an incident with a flute that she shouldn't have been playing? But also, she is currently involved in a lawsuit of alleged sexual harassment and fostering a hostile work environment by 3 backup dancers, who upon making her statement, their lawyer, Ron Zambrano, hit back at the announcement by saying it's a joke that Lizzo would say she's being bullied by the internet when she should instead be taking an honest look at herself. Her latest post is just another outburst seeking attention and trying to deflect from her own failings as she continues to blame everyone else for the predicament she is in. Lizzo's legal and public relations strategy is a failure, so she is desperately trying to play the victim, adding that Lizzo has thrown childish temper tantrums before and that no one actually believes she is quitting music. The dancers that this lawyer represents, Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams and Noel Rodriguez, are the ones that are accusing Lizzo and her production company of assault, racial and religious harassment, fat-shaming, disability discrimination and false imprisonment. That is a lengthy slew of accusations levied against Lizzo, who believes that all of this is false and sensationalized. To add to it, a month later, fashion designer Asher Daniels also filed a lawsuit with the LA Superior Court, accusing Lizzo of allowing bullying, harassment, racial discrimination to take place behind the scenes of her tour, none of which makes her look remotely good. Of course, if you've seen any of the unflattering angles she has put herself in over the years, or the lack of clothing pictures that have done their rounds, there isn't much that can be regarded as flattering. I'm all for empowering and positivity, but there are limits. Much like the belief that wearing black is slimming, there is a limitation to that as well. In February of this year, an LA judge rejected the request by Lizzo to end the 3 backup dancers' case against her, though he did dismiss some of the charges, including the one that had alleged fat-shaming one of the former dancers, and another that Lizzo's team had allegedly discriminated against a person with a disability. However, sexual harassment, racial and religious discrimination made by Lizzo and Shirlene Quigley were upheld by the judge, so this will continue for some time. At present, it can be argued Lizzo's career has been going up for a few years now. Her 3rd and 4th album have continued to do well in the charts, so she is able to command a considerable amount of attention and, by that extension, a fair amount of privilege is granted to her, leeway as it were. However, there is an update to all of this. You see, Lizzo isn't quitting music. No. She decided on her Instagram to put out another statement, but this would be a video version, clarifying that she's not quitting the music industry, even though that is exactly how it came across. She said, "When I say quit, I mean I quit giving any negative energy attention. What I'm not going to quit is the joy of my life, which is making music, which is connecting to people. I know I'm not alone. In no way, shape or form am I the only person who's experiencing the negative voices that seem to be louder than the positive. If I can just give one person the inspiration or motivation to stand up for themselves and say they quit letting negative people win, negative comments win, then I've done even more than I could have hoped for. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep being me." What an inspirational speech given by somebody who has become a literal piñata for the internet and for the public. You may command a considerable amount of respect from more casual viewers and of course your fan base. Right now though, people are looking at those accusations against you and are saying this seems to line up with certain behaviours you've demonstrated. Of course, I fully believe in innocence until proven guilty, so I will not be assigning guilt. That is not my place, and I certainly am not that guy. I thought I'd highlight it because in one post, you say you quit. And because you intentionally left it open for clicks and clout, you then had to clarify 5 days later. And that's on purpose. Because while you're accusing those accusing you of rather negative things, of only levying those accusations against you because of clout and clicks, you did the same thing with one Instagram post for sympathy, which you didn't get in any post since that original one, which speaks volumes about how embarrassing you are as a person, really, doesn't it? So moving on April the 1st, 2024, J.K. Rowling put out an 11-tweet thread. Each one was talking about Scotland's Hate Crime Act that came into effect on the 1st of April, which in and of itself felt like a joke for two separate reasons. Obviously, April Fool's Day and the very fact you've created the Hate Crime Act. J.K. Rowling's belief is that this Hate Crime Act does not provide additional protections for women, but those that fall within the protected category are activists of the trans variety. So all 11 tweets cover individuals who have committed crimes that identify as trans, who have gone, in some instances, to women's prisons and gone on to commit further crimes, or have committed crimes against children, or compete in sports that they probably shouldn't compete in. I cannot read those tweets in this video because YouTube will give me a strike. I don't want a strike. Now this led to much in the way of accusation that perhaps this violated the Hate Crime Act. J.K. Rowling is known for living in a castle in Scotland after all. Therefore, she falls within the Scottish Police's jurisdiction. The police force did confirm they'd received a number of complaints, but that no action would be taken. The current Hate Crime and Public Order Act makes it an offence to behave in a threatening or ABUSIVE manner with the intention of stirring up hatred based on disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, or being intersex. Stirring up hatred based on those also typically falls under the Public Order Act of 1986, but that is now included in the new law. Since the law came into effect, the Scottish police have received more than 3,000 complaints. Katie Neves, a trans woman who was appointed a UN Women UK delegate, has actually accused JK of inciting hatred against her and many others like India Willoughby. If you follow JK Rowling, you'll know who those individuals are. Because in JK's thread, JK included individuals that weren't just S.offenders, but included others that were athletes or involved in other areas of society, Katie Neves took great offence at being told by JK that they were someone that switched from straight man to lesbian at the age of 48. Now we've seen in the past how sensitive these Scottish police can be, so when you consider what JK has tweeted, I am very surprised that they have not in fact acted, because they could. Their current First Minister, Scotland's that is, Humza Yousaf, has said that he was not surprised the police had assessed the online posts as non-criminal. Humza Yousaf believes that this act protects the most vulnerable and marginalised in our society, while safeguarding freedom of expression and speech. But that's nonsense, because if the law exists, then you do not have freedom of speech, because you've introduced a series of consequences based on freedom of speech, which then means there is no such thing as freedom of speech. Either you believe in it or you don't. You've introduced laws that many believe actually only originated because you, Humza Yousaf, and many of your kind from SNP, and your kind being the nanny state enthusiasts not determined by race, don't try me, are so enthusiastic about protecting yourselves from criticisms. Don't forget here you have a First Minister that hates white people that make up 95% of the country. He legitimately hates them, which is hilarious. Yousaf told BBC News Scotland, those new offences that have been created by the Act have a very high threshold for criminality. The behaviour has to be threatening or ABUSIVE and intends to stir up hatred. So it doesn't deal with people just being offended or upset or insulted, saying that JK Rowling's posts were a perfect example of that, and that anybody who read the Act will not have been surprised at all that there's no arrests made. JK's tweets may well be offensive, upsetting and insulting to trans people, but it doesn't mean they meet a threshold for criminality of being threatening or ABUSIV and intending to stir up hatred. That sounds like somebody who's waiting for a bit of a serious donation from JK Rowling, because if you're going to abide your law, the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act of 2021, JK Rowling would be arrested for stirring up hatred, feelings over facts. And that's a key point. it does become subjective because those who take offence at this are arguing it does stir up hatred. And I think the only reason you haven't acted is because J.K. Rowling has a phenomenal amount of money and a very big following. I think you're playing optics. When's Scotland do an election next? It should be noted, J.K. Rowling is not going to stop this. J.K. Rowling's pinned tweet says, "I hope every woman in Scotland who wishes to speak up for the reality and importance of biological sex will be reassured by this announcement. And I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law." And that's an important point. Hence my comments about money and notoriety earlier. And I'm glad that she hasn't been at the same time, because I also believe in absolutist free speech. I don't care what you say, I really don't. I'm not going to be offended at what you think, what you believe, as long as you don't push it onto me. When it comes to criminals, when it comes to sport, it's very important to acknowledge the biological difference. Very important. In sport, yes, you should have men's, women's, biological sport categories. No open nonsense, because open is basically just where the men go anyway. When it comes to prisons, this gets more complicated. It should just be biological men and women and protective custody for individuals, of course. However, the severity of the crime makes things a lot more complicated. How the prison is supposed to keep the prisoners safe from everyone else is another problem. These are what JK is highlighting, but also ensuring that women's only spaces and protections for biological women are maintained and not carved at carefully to crack what it means to be a woman. Break it down so that women don't exist anymore, while simultaneously continuing to bitch about men. It's a fascinating subject, and I highly recommend you read her tweets with an open mind. I will link them down below if you're interested. So, honourable mention time. This is a subject we covered last week concerning the St. George's Cross on the back of the England shirt. This time, it is the Union Jack for the Olympic team. Team GB's rebrand of the Union Jack, incorporating pink and purple colours, has been met with a considerable amount of backlash from fans. The designers for Team GB, agency This Away, said they needed to find a way to refresh the colour palette in a way that was both flexible and ownable. Basically, the Union Jack is considered far too racist and right-wing, much like the St. George's Cross, which is a load of old tosh. The website said that the red, white and blue colours were synonymous with Great Britain, and they were far from unique. This wholesale rebrand looks to appeal to a new generation of sports fans. This isn't about sports fans though. This is about national identity and national pride. I firmly believe though, by the way, the United Kingdom and the Union Jack that we use for that flag shouldn't be in the Olympics as the United Kingdom, it should be individual nations. But in this instance, I tweeted out that image by saying, can we please stop effing with the UK flags as part of some kind of refreshing our nation's identity? We've seen the backlash to the England flag and how it has in turn led to a massive decrease in England home kit sales. Learn the lesson and learn it fast. The Great British team have had to come out now and insist that the new design will not feature on their kit for Paris 2024, which was made 2 years ago and will be launched later this month. Spokesperson telling an outlet, all Team GB athletes will wear the Union Jack as normal in Paris. The list of those who have slammed this redesign include multiple people who have won multiple gold medals for Team GB over the years, many of whom agree that the entire point of changing the Union Jack is to try and create a new identity for the country. But that's not how you fix a problem if a problem exists. It's also not the flag if there is a problem that is the problem. You've made it the problem, the boogeyman as it were. So the final subject of today, we're going to go to the musician, music artist, performer, person, lady type thing, Shakira, who's given her opinion on the Barbie movie. Although I should preface this by saying this is not entirely her opinion, but also her son's, right? My sons absolutely hated it. They felt it was very emasculating, and I agree to an extent. I'm raising 2 boys, I want them to feel powerful too while respecting women. I like pop culture when it attempts to empower women without robbing men of their possibility to be men, to also protect and provide. I believe in giving women all the tools and the trust that we can do it all without losing our essence, without losing our femininity. I think that men have a purpose in society and women have another purpose as well. We complement each other and that complement should not be lost. I should insert, I have not seen the Barbie movie, so I have no opinion on this. What I found hilarious was In the replies to this, to Shakira's comments that were quoted by Popcrave, many were saying that this is an April Fool's joke, obviously pointing out that Kens were finally, respected and the purpose showcased at the end of the movie, and that Shakira is clearly doing this to up her album sales. Some did actually agree, by the way, with her. I should point out, she's still one of the biggest selling Latin America artists on the planet. She may not be achieving the level of success these days in other charts of English-speaking variety, but she doesn't need to anymore. She's made her money. On a list of the richest Latina pop stars, she's third, behind J-Lo and Gloria Estefan. So I doubt she needs to sell albums, and that is, if anything, a distraction from her point. She did say agree to an extent, and many, because Twitter, ignored that part because Shakira made a wider point. A wider point about the purpose of men and women and the distinction of their separate lives and existences. The coexistence of the two sexes. I have to say that because someone's going to get triggered otherwise. Some do, many still, a majority around this planet believe in those values of what a man's purpose is and what a woman's purpose is. Westernized interpretations and certainly more progressive regions aren't going to appeal to the wider audience, and Shakira has always appealed to a wider audience. And she is raising two sons. They need to know what their purpose and their place is in this world, while also not being entitled little brats, because Nepo children are a nightmare. Do let me know what you think, by the way, about her comments. And if you've seen the Barbie movie, do you think perhaps there is a valid point there concerning how the Kens were treated in the Barbie movie, for the most part, and then how they were recognised at the end? Again, I've not seen this, so I'm not making a point to comment on that. I just want to highlight the reactionary nature of the Twitters.